Hi, my name is Courtney Smith, and I'm your student's political economy teacher at Irvine High School. Since this is a second semester class and I won't have the opportunity to meet you at back to school night, I wanted to introduce myself and let you know a little bit about the class. As far as my background and where I came from, I am originally from Southern California, but I went to school up at St. Mary's College in Northern California. I love the mission of the school. The mission at St. Mary's was Enter to Learn, Leave to Serve, and I was really inspired by that idea of using education to help serve your community. I majored in politics and minored in justice in the community, and I was really empowered to pursue social justice and service while I was up at St. Mary's. I was part of AmeriCorps my senior year. I also got a chance to do relief work down in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, so I really had an incredible educational experience at St. Mary's, and I never had any intention of going into teaching. So when I got out of college, I actually went into the private sector and worked in cost management for a general contractor. The building down below is the building located off of Jamboree in the 405, and it's one of the projects that our company built in my time with the company. The first project I ever worked on, which is a pretty incredible project in Century City, was 2000 Avenue of the Stars, and I was right out of college, 21 years old, and working on a project with a budget of over $200 million with a world-renowned architect in Gensler. So it was just an incredible opportunity, and I learned a lot from that experience. My last project that I worked on with that general contractor was over at UCI. It was the Sue and Bill Gross Hall. And if you have a child who ends up majoring in biology over at UCI, they'll probably end up in this building at some time. It is the Stem Cell Research Building. So as I was working for this general contractor, I also started helping out at a youth group in Irvine, and I fell in love with working with high school students. I found a new passion, and about 7 years ago I actually left the private sector and started teaching, and I've been at Irvine High School ever since. In terms of my interest and passion for politics, it's always been a part of my family and a part of my life. I actually had a grandfather who worked in the Kennedy and the Johnson administrations. He was an assistant attorney general under Robert Kennedy, so some pretty incredible stories that I was exposed to growing up, which really grew a passion and a love of politics and American government for me. This picture on the bottom right-hand side, if you see, it's Lyndon Johnson in the Oval Office. And then next to Lyndon Johnson, you have veterans from the Vietnam War. And on the far right side is actually a picture of my mom. So because of my grandfather's position in the administration, she got an opportunity to meet Lyndon Johnson. So pretty neat history and background. Also, a fun fact about me, I have a twin brother. He's brilliant. He's a playwright in New York, and definitely loved growing up with a twin. In terms of this class, it is a second semester class for seniors. It is a graduation requirement. And it is a combination of government and economics. Every government decision or political decision made usually has economic implications, and vice versa. So we kind of blend the two together and teach the content simultaneously. I love working with high school seniors. It's some of my colleagues aren't as excited to work with second semester seniors, but for me, I feel a responsibility and a great opportunity to try to empower and educate our young people right before they graduate from high school, to try to give them and build up in them the skills and the confidence to be successful after they graduate. So for me, I have a love and a deep interest in working with our high school seniors, and I'm excited to be working with your student in this class. This class, one of the things I emphasize is the need for our young people to be active and engaged citizens. Voting is only one of the few things that you can do to be active and engaged as a citizen. And if you look at those numbers of how much our young people are participating or are not participating in government, it's actually shockingly low. So in the 2012 presidential election, which is, you have a much higher turnout rate for voting than in mid-year elections like the one coming up in 2018. What percentage of young people 18 to 29 actually voted? Only 45%. So we're talking about 21% of the population, and of that 21%, less than half are getting out and voting. So if our young people really want to affect change, they have to be active, they have to be engaged. But it's more than just voting. It's also it's being a citizen who is committed to improving their community. And I think if all of us took that challenge seriously, we'd be living in a much better country and a much better world. So one of my goals is to get my students in this class to be educated and informed about government and economics so that they can make educated decisions once they graduate from high school. In terms of political perspective, I will never tell students where I stand in terms of my political beliefs. I think it's much more important to have my students develop their own perspective on these important issues that they'll be confronted with from now through their adult life. In terms of media that I hope they access, CNN and Fox News, they're really entertaining, but they're not as credible in terms of resources. I would challenge my students to look at different sources if they're looking for a more liberal perspective. The Atlantic, The Guardian, Slate would give some good information. A more conservative or moderate perspective they can find in The Economist, The Hill, and The Wall Street Journal. So really want my students to be exposed to content that is at the level that they should be accessing. Our students already, every week, I have 2 to 3 students have been presenting on current events that they care about, and the students have done an excellent job. So your child at one point will be presenting on a topic. The topics that they've chosen so far is, which have been fascinating, is DACA is one of them, probably one of the biggest political partisan issues right now. Also Amazon, it's been incredible to see what Amazon has done over the last 20 years to revolutionize how we buy goods and services. And then lastly is the global resource crisis. So it's been really interesting to see students present on topics that they're interested in, from the economy to immigration to general resources and the environment. And just to compliment your students, they were given a test last unit, and it was a test that was relatively challenging. They had to know things like Rex Tillerson is our Secretary of State, or Paul Ryan is our Speaker of the House, or Mitch McConnell is our Senate Majority Leader. And I've given this test over the last 7 years, and I've never had a group of students do as well as your students did. The class average was something like 95%, and I've never had that happen before. So definitely a compliment to your student. We're having an essay coming up this Friday. Students will be writing an in-class essay. So right now their grades might seem a little bit high. We are going to be getting into a little bit more challenging content. And if it seems like your student doesn't have a lot of homework, that's okay. A lot of the work we do is done in class, and it's skill-based work like dialoguing, presenting for current events, writing and reading comprehension. So a lot of that I try to walk the students through. So if they use their class time effectively in preparation, for example, for their in-class essay on Friday, they shouldn't have too much of a burden of homework once they get home. One of the things I'm really challenged by myself personally, and that I want to challenge your students in this year, is being open-minded and willing to accept divergent perspectives. So the quote that we're going to be looking at this semester as a theme throughout the semester is, "Dissent, even if it is false, keeps alive the truth against which it dissents." And right now, partisan politics is really dividing the country, and my hope is that we can be a classroom that presents divergent perspectives and is open to learning new ideas and new perspectives. So I'm really excited for that challenge this semester. Yeah, that's all I have, and I look forward to getting to know your students better, and again, trying to challenge them to be active and engaged citizens right now in this class, and then when they get out of this class when they graduate in June, which will be an incredibly exciting time. So if you ever have any questions or comments or concerns, please send me an email. I should be able to respond within 24 hours, Monday through Friday. My email is courtneysmith@iusd.org. I look forward to working with your students this semester. Thank you.